Well, greetings, interwebs. I'm Hal Horton, and you know my house, and now you're going to know my kitchen. I'll teach you how to cook things that I cook. People seem to like. They're fairly simple meals that anybody can prepare. There's nothing exotic or out of the ordinary. Everything I got came from Winn-Dixie. There's no special Nigerian spice that was picked by only the young girls from a certain village. It can only be imported on Tuesdays in August. No. It's just regular old stuff from the grocery store that anybody can make. Simple recipes, feed a family, and they're very tasty. So, this is the first episode. Let's see what happens. By the way, today, roasted pork, squash with onions and bacon, and rice. Simple meal for a full family or just one person. You just adjust the amount to suit your own self. So now we go. Well, eventually I'll get the hang of this, trust me. This is what we're working with today. As you can see, it's nothing unusual. These are pork steaks and boneless pork ribs. I got these at Winn-Dixie. They have them all the time. It's nothing unusual. And just so you know, what these actually are, if you ever had a ham, this is from the shoulder of the pig. That's where they make the ham from. These they just cut into strips, call them boneless ribs. These they just cut into steaks. Either way, it's the good stuff. We have some Pam, some EVO, soy sauce, liquid smoke, and garlic salt. And that's it. Nothing exotic, nothing unusual, just simple good stuff. Let's get to it, shall we? Okay, to start out with, this is the pan we'll be using. It's the one that came with the oven. It works great. See, it's got the top with the slits where everything is dripped through. Here's a top tip for you. This bottom drip pan, line it with aluminum foil. That way, when all the stuff drips through, you get on the aluminum foil and not in the pan itself. It's clean up a lot easier. Also, another top tip, get the heavy-duty aluminum foil. Less likely to tear. It costs slightly more, but it'll save you a whole lot of headaches. All this is for is catching the dripping. Okay, so we line our pan. Here's another top tip for you. Once you got it lined, put a little water in it. What that does, when the stuff drips into the pan, it'll sit and dry out and crusty and then start to smoke. You don't want that. So you put a little water in it, just enough to line it. You don't want to fill it up because you'll inevitably spill it. There, that'll keep you from making smoke in the kitchen. Now, first thing, a little non-stick spray. In this case, Pam. Any old one will do. The store brand probably work just as well. All that does is keep it from sticking and making a mess. Okay, pork steaks. Put them on first. Normally I would do pork steaks but because I'm doing this as a educational video, I'm doing both. The strips and the steaks. You want to, you got to put them all in the pan, but you don't really want to mash them together too much. You want a little bit of space between so the hot air can get in as such. You put these steaks down here. There we go. It's like putting together a puzzle. You want to get them all over, but you don't really want them mashed together. That's a weird one. And that's a weird one. They were cut kind of weird. Okay. Whatevs. Alright. They're going to all covered on the pan. Okay, next step. A little bit of soy sauce. You be a little liberal with the soy sauce. It's mostly going to run off. It'll soak in, give you a nice flavor. Okay. Next, liquid smoke. Just a little bit of extra flavor. You don't have to be too crazy. Just make sure you get a little bit on each piece of meat. And there you go. And lastly, my favorite, garlic salt. All you're doing is just sprinkling a little across each piece of meat. So we're not getting crazy with it, we're not covering it, we're just putting some on each piece. That's just giving it some flavor. The soy sauce is a little salty, so you really don't need to go too crazy. But the garlic salt just has a better flavor than regular salt. Hence, I love it on everything. Okay, next step, the oven. Shall we? Okay, so normally people preheat the oven. Nah, we're going to cook this one low and slow, so it doesn't really need a preheat. And set the oven 325. We want it to cook it low and slow. Look at that piggy goodness. Shove it all in the back. Here, turn the light on so you can see. Now we just let it sit. Set the timer. 1 hour. There. Now, when we get it, let me move that out of your way. This was a housewarming gift from my stepmother. Nice pink flamingos. That will just sit and cook for an hour. When we get about halfway through, we'll move on to the side dishes, the squash and the onions and all the other lovely things that go with it. See you then.
Eventually.
Okay, we're at 30 minutes. You see, things are coming along nicely. It's time to move on to the rest of the stuff. Okay, so next we're going to make the rice. Rice is very simple. I do have a rice cooker. I used to have an Asian wife, so yeah, I had a rice cooker, but she's gone, so I don't eat nearly as much rice. But rice, real simple. You use 1 scoop, any kind. It doesn't matter what you scoop with. In my case, I'm using a 1 cup measuring cup. You can use a coffee mug. It doesn't matter. All that matters is use the same one. You use 1 scoop of rice to 2 scoops of water. That's it. Be it a big coffee mug, a little cup, whatever. And then you put it in the microwave for 17 minutes. That's the formula. Very simple. Capiche? Next step, microwave. That's why I said microwave safe bowl. Cook time, this is the important part. 17 minutes. And start. It's like all rice, rice-a-roni, whatever, is 17 minutes. That's an easy magic formula. 2 to 1 water to rice, 17 minutes microwave. There you go. And one of my favorite things?
What is it? It is. It is. It is green.
It's EVO. That's all. Next part's easy. Big knife, which any old knife will do. It's just easier with a kind of a proper kitchen knife. Cutting up an onion. It's not exactly rocket science. It's cut up nice and small. This is not a big fancy $1,000 German specialty kitchen knife. It's a Faberware. That's I think that's the Walmart brand. I'm not sure, but not expensive, but it works well. there's our onions. Now, I'm going to show you a secret. You also want to chop up some garlic to go in this, because why wouldn't you? But garlic's kind of a pain to deal with. Again, I got from the grocery store, minced garlic. It's real fresh garlic, already chopped up for you, saves a ton of time. And while garlic powder is a good seasoning, this is actual garlic. We're still going to put some garlic salt in it, but this is just to get things started. Just another top tip for you. You can find it over in the produce area. It's kept cold, I think. Yeah. Another thing I need to have in my recipe, some bacon. Not a whole lot, just some. We'll pull out to 4 strips. There, just 4 strips of bacon. I like it smoked sausage, nice and salty. Cut it in little pieces. This is more of a seasoning than eating a bacon. Again, the cheap Walmart knife gets the job done. No problemo. There we go. We're ready to start cooking. Trying to sort out these shots, how to place the camera, see the stove, is proving a bit of a challenge. Okay, use this nice big pot and a little EVO. Go ahead and blast it up on high, let it heat up. You don't need a whole lot of olive oil at first, just enough to coat the pan real well to ensure things don't stick. Help with the cooking. And it's just me, but as I go, I'm wiping stuff up because it makes cleanup easier later. Okay, for starters, the bacon. We'll get it going. And since this is a Teflon lined pan, we're going to stir it with a plastic spoon. You don't want to use metal on a non-stick surface, and it'll just scrape off the non-stick Teflon or whatever they happen to be using. And now we wait. Yep, a little bit of bacon going. Gonna break it up. Let it start to render a little bit. You want these clumps, broken up so they can actually cook individually. Whoops! I should watch the camera while I'm doing this. Yeah, you want these to lay out flat. There we go. Now that we have the bacon going, it's rendering, it's looking good, time for the onions. Dump them in, let them start to cook down. Okay, now we've got our onions going. You can see how it's that olive oil is doing its thing. Now this part is purely in the eye of the beholder, or up to your taste buds, or whatever you want to call it, garlic. I don't necessarily measure it out, I just put a big clump of it, because I really like garlic. Okay, there's the garlic. I'll go ahead and mix it in with the onions and the bacon. The bacon grease and the olive oil, along with the garlic and the onions, make a real nice start for the squash. Okay, and here's our rice. You can see it's, well, it's rice. It's done all the way like it should be. I mean, you can't really go wrong. It's, well, it's rice. What can I say? It is what it is. Okay, so I turned down the heat on the stove, and I'm letting put a lid on it and letting it just simmer for now. We've still got about 10 minutes left on the pork, and it's looking close to done. Okay, our other big thing we're cooking today, squash. Cut the ends off real quick. And just start cutting it in little pieces. So for our next step, our onions and bacon looking really good. All the squash we just cut up, dump it in the pan, and stir. I'm going to put in a little more olive oil. Not a whole lot, just kind of a little dousing, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, now we're getting into the area of personal taste. I like a little bit of pepper, because that's how Grandma used to make it. What you can do, if you try this, if you like pepper, put some in. And if it's not enough, you can always add more later. If it's too much, well, you know what not to put in. But you really don't want to do too much, because then, you know, it's hot. Also, a little more garlic salt. Just a sprinkling for flavor, get a little saltiness, even though the bacon is already good and salty. Okay. We will turn up the heat, blast it up on high, stir it, let it simmer for just a few minutes. Let's say, give it 5 minutes and check back, see how we're doing. The pork is almost done, so they should both finish up about the same time. Hear that sizzling, simmering, squashy goodness. Just let it keep simmering down. Stirring occasionally. Started doing this one-handed. And put our lid back on. And let's take a little peek. Oh yeah, look at that pork. It's all red and brown and bubbly and it's gonna be so good. Oh yeah. Time to take that out of the oven. Oh yeah. See how that pork is pink? That's because this is the dark meat part of the pig. Standard pork chops are white meat. They tend to be dry. I really don't like them. This is the dark meat, the shoulder. It's moist and juicy and full of flavor. And that's why I make this instead. Now tell me that is not a delicious looking meal. And you see how much effort I put into it. Look how tender that is. Hang on, let me try this. This pork is so tender, yep, cut it with a fork. Look at that. That good eating. Yeah. Pork is juicy and tender. It tastes so good. The flavor goes right down into the meat. I think the technical term for that is muy bueno. Man, squash with the rice. How can you go wrong? We could use a touch more garlic salt. Well, I guess I was focusing more on filming than cooking, but yeah, that's all up to a matter of personal taste. And when you make it yourself, another thing is the rice is very bland. So usually when I cook something to serve with rice, I over salt it, over season it, because then the rice is going to then cut down on the flavor. But this one I was trying to make just for filming purposes. But yeah, there you go.
I always hope for the best. Experience, unfortunately, has taught me to expect the worst.
Obviously, I'm not Gordon Ramsay. I'm just a guy who knows how to cook pretty well. And I just want to share what I know with everybody out there. If you have any questions, any things you'd like to see tried, as long as it's nothing, crazy, let me know down in the comments below. Or if you'd like to see me just do something different, you don't like the way I'm doing the video, I've never done a cooking video before, let me know. Tell me. Let's talk. I'd like to know really what y'all think. Until then, good seeing you. Take some aluminum foil, line it with foil. That way all the mess that drips down will get in the aluminum foil. Here's another top tip for you. Get a roll that's not empty. Now that we have the this even gonna fit? Holy cow. Man, it's a big pack of bacon. Hey, wow. Woo! There's a moment in time. Alicia, you got ready for lunch? Come and get it. That girl could sleep through an atomic bomb blast.